In this lesson, we're going to start with the basics of watercolor painting, some of the materials we're going to use, and the basics of blends and shades. We're going to start off with some of the materials that we can use for blends using the black. You can use this paint right here called FW, which is a liquid acrylic. It works like watercolor, but it's acrylic, so it's permanent. You can also use tattoo ink, dynamic, or talents, or any other kind of sumi ink works good. So you can use those. If you don't have inks, you can use markers. The different things about markers is that you have to make sure that your marker is water based, because if it's alcohol based like a Copic or a Prisma marker, it's not going to blend. You're going to need other markers to blend with those markers because they're alcohol based. And of course, you're going to need some watercolor paper. My favorite is this one. Cold press. I feel like hot press is better for markers because it's more smoother. But for brushes and using ink, I like to use cold press. Most flash and tattoo prints you see, most of them are cold press. I would say 99% of them are going to be cold press. And here's a quick little demonstration of how a marker is going to blend, and a demonstration between this Prisma marker that's going to be an alcohol based marker. If you put the brush in the water and you try to blend this, you're not going to get a blend. Same thing with a Copic. You can try to blend that with water, but it's not going to work because it's an alcohol based marker. But if you use a watercolor based marker and then you blend it with water, it reactivates and you can actually watercolor with markers. Just like that. Now it's the same concept with ink. You're just gonna need different paintbrushes. Just like here we have a marker and a paintbrush. It's the same thing, but replacing the marker with another paintbrush. So you're gonna go black with this one and fade with this one, or color with this one, fade with this one, and fade or blend or whatever you want to call it. So now we need to pour some ink out. In this demonstration, I'm going to use black FW. If you don't have a little ink tray to put inks inside of, you can use some ink caps, or go to the store and get some ink trays, or ink trays, ink caps, so we can use really. If you're at the shop, you can use a tattoo ink cap. If you go to, pro tip, if you go to the art supply store, you can buy these little caps that have lids on them. So if you custom make a color, you can travel with it and you can keep that color for your whole painting. So you don't have to remix that color, because sometimes it's hard to remake a color. And they also sell these little suction things that you can use to, for example, you can take water or paint, and you can also count how many drops you're doing if you want to be precise. So we're going to use this FW black paint. Make sure you shake it. Make sure the lid is closed before you shake it. It's happened to me before where I shaked it and it wasn't closed all the way, and I got paint all over my couch and my painting, and I was not able to finish the painting. Had to redo it. So now you're just gonna get a couple of drops of black, and you want to put it in there, and you want to go 50% solid black, 50% of water, so your black doesn't look shiny when it dries. So now that you got the black in there with the water, you're gonna get a little paintbrush. You're gonna mix it around just like that. Then you always want to have a paper towel nearby so you can clean the paintbrush. And also, you're gonna have two water cups, a clean one and a dirty one. So put the paintbrush in the dirty one and clean your paintbrush. And then you can always dab it in the clean one to make sure it's all the way clean. Now, with watercolor, wherever you put the water, the paint is going to follow. So, for example, if we put all this water right here and we just dab the paint, it's going to travel to where the water is. As you can see, if I put water over here, if that paint touches that water, it's going to travel to it. So wherever you put the water, the paint is going to follow. And because it's water, you can come back and put water over that. And if you get a piece of paper towel and just dab it, you're going to absorb that, and you just fix the mistake. So remember, wherever the water goes, the paint goes. The paint follows. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some water down. Then we're going to get some of the paint down. And then we're going to blend it out. Then you dip it in the paper towel to clean the brush. Dip it back in the water. And you got one blend. Let's blend this one the other way. You got another blend. And you have two options. You can dip the brush in the water or the paper towel, or you can put it in your mouth, whichever one you want to do. So there, I just demonstrated how to do it with the paper towel and just water. Now I'm going to do it with just spit, putting it in my mouth. So you're going to put down your saliva, just like the water. Put the brush back in your mouth. Put the paint down. Come back, blend it out. I clean it in the paper towel so I don't put a bunch of paint in my mouth. Then I put it back in my mouth to get some spit and to feel how much water there is on that paintbrush. And then from there, you blend it out again. I'm used to using the cup more than my mouth because when you do bigger blends, it's kind of harder to do it with just spit. So it's easier to do the cup. So I normally use my mouth to feel how much water there is in the brush. So you can dip it in the water, dab it in the paper towel so it absorbs some of the water, because you don't want it super watery, because if you do it super watery, it's gonna heal very watery looking. Let me show you. So this blend is gonna be with a lot of water. So we put the paint down. Now we blend it out again. And say you were just to dip it in the water and go like this, and then blend it again. And then you keep just doing it only with water. Say you dry your brush out now and you blend this out. Now all that brush is doing, it's absorbing the paint instead of blending it, because it's a dry brush. But say you come back over it with water again, you see what happens? Say you have to re-blend that or fix that fade. Now with that water, it's going to get watery. And it looks messy. So that's the whole reason why you put the paintbrush in your mouth, so you can feel how much water there is on the paintbrush. So now that you know the basics, I'm going to teach you a quick little assignment that you can practice so you can start building good habits that you're going to later on apply to real paintings. Check it out. Okay, so you're just going to get a ruler, draw a couple grids. All right, so you're going to go like this. And you're going to go like this. You just draw different little sections. Little ones, big ones. Make them random like that. What you're going to do is all of these ones, we're going to blend it this way. All of these ones, we're going to blend them this way. All of these ones, we're going to blend them this way. Pretty spot on, though. It is very spot on. These top ones, we're going to bend them. We're going to go like this. 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 And just draw little arrows on which direction you want the cubes to be shaded. Right? So from there, you're going to get your paint. And again, you're going to start with grabbing some of the water or spit. What I do is I get some water, put it in my mouth to make sure I can feel how much water is in the brush. And then I want this one to fade from there that way. So the fade is going to start in the middle. I don't need water back here because this is where the black goes. And I don't need water way over here because that's where the paper would want to stay white. That's where the highlight will be. So I'm just going to put the water right in the middle of that, not touching the end of this line because I don't want the paint to go all the way that way. So I'm going about 3/4 of the way. And then I get the ink and make sure I don't have a lot of it as well. So you can dab it in your ink cap and then dab it on a piece of paper like this. So ink cap, paper, Then you're going to start putting in that black where it goes. You want to go from the top of the line to the bottom of the line, just like that. This brush is pretty small, so I have to dip and get more paint. So for the next blend, I'm going to switch to a bigger brush. And just like that, we got that one all the way to the top. And because we have water here, it's not dry yet. So now I can put the brush in my mouth and blend that paint out 3/4 of the way, clean my brush, put it back in my mouth, and then just get rid of that last little line right there. Try not to pull back too much, but almost like just try to erase that line right there, just how we did with this little card, how we erased that in the beginning. So just like that, we got one blend. I'm going to go with a bigger brush for the black now. And I will want this area to dry before I go into this area. So if I'm working on a petal, so if I'm working on a rose, for example, don't work on the petal that's right next to it. Work on the one across from it. So you give time for that paint to dry. So we're going to go to this one and we're going to do the same thing. Put water in the middle. This one is the same but blended the opposite direction. So put the water where you want the black to go. And then we're going to come in with that black ink again. Just like that. Now because this is a smaller blend, I'm able to do all this black part back here before I make the blend. But if it was a bigger painting, maybe you will want to do half of it, make the blend, and then pack the rest of the black. So again, clean the brush when you get 1/4 of the way. Try to make that fade disappear. And notice how this one is not, it's not disappearing. What's going on? What's happening? What am I doing wrong? I keep cleaning the brush. I keep wiping it. It's supposed to absorb the paint, but it's not happening. Why is that? It's because the direction of the paintbrush also matters. If you notice, on this side, the paintbrush was going this direction, like this. And on this one, the paintbrush is going in the other direction, which the tip of the paintbrush is facing away from the fade. And this one, the tip of the paintbrush is facing the fade. So you always want to make sure that the tip of the paintbrush is facing the fade. So you're pulling away from the fade, not into it. So here, the tip of the paintbrush is facing the fade, and when we're fading, we're pulling away. But on this one, it's facing the wrong direction, and when we're fading, we're not absorbing, and it just becomes a mess. So what you will want to do in this case is rotate the paper this direction and now blend it like this. Right? So for example, if we're going to do this fade now, we want to make sure that we're pulling this direction, not, oh no, this direction. Just made a mess. Hope that makes sense. So now we're gonna do sometimes I put the brush in my mouth, or you can hold it with two brushes like this. You can go like this and then go like this, and you can use two brushes at the same time. So, for example, you can go like this, put the water down, get the black, put the black in, get the water, push away from it. You get a quarter, 3/4 of the way. Clean your paintbrush, dip it in the water again, clean it in the paper towel, back and forth, and put it in your mouth so you feel how much water you have, and then just go right over that edge there. Repeat the process. And now that line and that fade is seamlessly. From there, you go back to your black. You start at the top right there. And you pack in the rest of that black. Just like that. If you want, you can just blend in that edge a little bit. Clean it one more time. Now you just let that dry just like that. Now you see how that one blended? Now also this is not solid black. This black has water in it. So if you don't use a good amount of it, you're gonna dry out a little bit gray and you're gonna have to give it layers. But that's okay because the more layers you do, the more rich your painting is gonna look. But you're not gonna have that glossy feel if you're using straight black. So here I'm noticing that this is drying kind of uneven. So before it dries, come through with a little bit of water, blend it in a little bit. Just like that. Blend it in. Boom. So now let's go into another section. Let's see. Let's go with this one right here. Since it's in the same direction. I'm gonna start with the black right there. So this one is a smaller fade, so we're gonna use the smaller paintbrush. Make sure you get a good amount of paint because this paint has water in it already. So it's gonna blend smooth. It's not gonna dry as fast. It's straight from the bottle. And just like that, do that small tip, clean the brush, get rid of the fade, clean the brush again. The smaller ones are a little trickier because you don't want to blend out too far and lose your skin tone. You lose your highlight. Right? You want to make sure you have a highlight. Like this one, we did it wrong and we lost that highlight and it's uneven. That one was the first one. We realized the paint was a little too light because it's mixed with water. So we're going to go a little bit darker or a little bit more, or use a little bit more paint so it dries darker. So now we're going to rotate the paper again, go in this direction, come down, put the water down where the fade is going to go, get the black, put it down, and then fade it out, 3/4 of the way, stop it, clean your brush, get rid of that little fade, clean the edges real quick, get rid of the little fade, and now fill in the rest of the black. So you have two ways you can do it. You can fill in the rest of the black last and do the fade first, or you can do the black first and then do the fade, but you want to make sure that you always put water down first, because if not, that black will dry really fast and it will look choppy. So put some water where the fade goes, start from the back, putting in that black from top to bottom. Once it stops touching the water, it's going to start spreading. So once you get to that middle point, come in with the brush, a little bit of water after putting it in your mouth. Fade it out 3/4 of the way. Clean your paintbrush. Clean that fade. Just like that. And you guys get the idea. You're gonna do different patterns, different shapes. Like this one's gonna be curving. Alright. So I'm gonna come in like this. Come in with the black. Like that. And now come in with the paintbrush. And you want to fade it 3/4 of the way. Clean the paintbrush. Come in again. And when you're doing this, you want to be careful not to put the palm of your hand on a spot that you just finished, because your hand or your jacket is going to absorb the water, and then you're going to look at it and be like, what happened to it? To say the least. You might say something else a little more aggressive. So now you just want to jump around and do different spots as they dry. And I'm not the best teacher either. So sometimes the best way to teach somebody is by showing you how to do it. So I'm just gonna finish this and let you guys watch. You want to make sure you're moving fast though, because sometimes the stuff dries quick. So you want to make sure you're moving quickly. And just follow that right there. Come in with the black. See, as soon as that paint touches the water, it wants to blend on its own. And there you want to blend that from top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom, and absorb like that. And you want to think about the brush hidden like this, right? So the more the back of the brush here touches the canvas, this part doesn't really have water, so it absorbs and it also pools the paint. So when you're going like this, the more you want to absorb or the more paint you want to catch and pull that in the direction you're fading, you're going to want to push down and then blend back. So then that way you get that. The more you practice that, the more you're going to understand and feel what I'm talking about. All of these things require practice. I can give you all my secrets, but the only way you're going to be able to do it is by practicing. And that's the same way it goes for tattooing, right? All of us didn't know how to tattoo, and then we practiced, and eventually we figured it out. So that's how it's going to be with everything else. I know sometimes you guys don't learn these things through your apprenticeship, so that's what I'm here for, to like motivate you, to push you, you know. All the greats paint, and you should start painting too, because that's how you're gonna develop your style and learn new tricks. The best thing about art is do it out of curiosity, you know. Anybody can take an AI picture and make something cool nowadays, but when you're doing it for fun, out of curiosity and experimenting, is when you're gonna be able to create your own thing. And that is what we are on a challenge for every single day as artists. So now let's see, let's grab this one and blend it in this direction. So there. See, now I messed up and I put water there. So now I gotta dry that out, because I don't need no water right there, because then the black is gonna dry watered down. So if you mess up, just absorb it with a paper towel and then come in fresh. Just like that. Start putting the black around the corners. Just like that. And you're gonna blend it. Make sure you're going from top to bottom, so you're getting right up to that edge. And you clean your brush, make the fade disappear. Feel like this can be blended more, so I'm gonna go, remember what I just said, pushing the paintbrush back to push that ink back. There you go. 3/4 of the way. Clean the paintbrush. Keep cleaning the paintbrush. Sometimes you gotta really dip it in that water, so it's like an eraser, just water. And blend it out just like that. So now we're gonna do this one. Get the black again. Come back in it. Black again. blend it. Now with this one, remember 3/4 of the way is a lot quicker. Clean it again. And every time you clean it, you want to dip the brush in the dirty brush. In the dirty cup, I mean. So every time you clean it, you want to dip the brush in the dirty cup. So this one can use a little more blending in the middle. So we're going to blend it out, top to bottom. Absorb it. Now we're going to do this one. Just want to make sure that your brush is always really clean, because if your brush is not really clean, it's going to be really easy to mess up and to go over where the highlight is supposed to go. So when I'm doing a serious painting, sometimes I'll use even a third brush just for that last piece. So for example, I'll be like right here, and I'll use a third brush that's clean just to get rid of this little fade back here. But this brush is not clean, so it's not doing much for us. But you get the idea. If you're doing a serious painting, sometimes you can use 3 brushes to make sure that last step of that disappearing, that last little blend is going to be clean. So now we got that one. I say let's do another loopy one. So come in, always dip in the clean water to start your fade, just like that. Get the paint, put the ink down. This one's like a rainbow, so we're gonna do a little rainbow. Just like that. Brush in your mouth to make sure you don't have a lot of water. And then right there, back and forth, pulling back, pulling back every way. Every time we go down, we pull back. Clean the brush, absorb the fade, clean the brush again, clean the brush again. Went a little bit over the line there, so what you can do is just get the little eraser and dry it out right there. And just go around the edges, clean it up. And you can do this fade going down. Dirty brush, make sure it's clean. So you have to work fast, but it's a little forgiving if you remember to put water down. Like you see right there, I messed up and I had black on my brush, but I came in real quick with some water and it disappeared. And now I can just come back in here with the black, making sure it's even. Brush in your mouth again. And then fade it out. While that dries, I'm gonna hop into a new spot over here. So this one we're gonna go this direction. This one we're gonna do the fade first. So just to demonstrate, you can do it different ways. Everybody have their own ways. Everybody have their own style. Let me do the fade first right there. Start from the top down, blending it up, keeping that rainbow shape kind of going. Cleaning the brush. And fading it again. Then you do the black at the end. One thing you guys want to keep in mind is when you're using these brushes, when you're done with them, always remember to lay them down flat. Don't ever leave them in the cup standing up like this, because the tip of the brush is going to get damaged, and then you're going to end up with a brush that looks like this. It looks like a lobster claw. You can use that for maybe some hair or something, but your brush is going to be ruined basically. So make sure you always lay your brushes down flat. Especially watercolor brushes. Again, another one starting right here with the fade. That one I probably use a little bit too much paint, but that's okay. We can absorb that paint. One pass, clean the brush, come back in it, blend it, rainbow shape. Blend it. Do the black. Boom. Now we're gonna do this one. We got two more. I'm gonna blend this one like this.
So I made friends with the girl who's at the makeup store. She has on a house. Oh, okay. And like me and her.
See, with this last one, I'm not gonna use any water before the fade. And if it's a small blend, you can get away with it sometimes. You just have to work a lot faster, and it's a lot more concentrated. So you have to be very careful when you get to this edge, because there's no water there, so it takes more blending to get it smooth. So if it's a little spot, you could put the black down first and then blend it, but I recommend starting with a little bit of water in the beginning. So if it's a big fade, you don't let it dry so fast, and it gives you more flexibility. And there you have it, guys. There's this cool little fun assignment that you can start practicing, so you can get your blends down, practice your technique, practice not going outside the lines and things like that. I was doing these when I was an apprentice. I still practice this sometimes. You can do it with paint. You can start with markers and just practice blending, getting used to pulling with the paintbrush. Make sure you storage them flat or hanging down. Don't ever storage them on a cup or where the tip is going to be squished down, because you're going to come back and you're going to have a crooked paintbrush, or it's going to look like a lobster claw like this one. From here, if you can practice and get this down, I'm going to jump into traditional watercolor flash painting. I'm going to do a couple portrait paintings and Japanese paintings and a couple of different styles using the same medium, using markers, using watercolor. So make sure you tune in to the next episode so we can do another fun tutorial. Let's go.